Samantha Skelley is the founder of Hungry for Happiness, an international movement to support women around the world who are suffering from disordered eating and body image issues. Hungry for Happiness creates online accessible and affordable recovery resources to those who are suffering in silence. Samantha was awarded Top 24 Under 24 in September of 2013, and in 2014, she was a finalist as the Best Emerging Entrepreneur, and Hungry for Happiness is now nominated for Best Concept by Small Business BC. Samantha Skelley aims to create a disruptive company in the eating disorder recovery space. Her vision is to create the largest and most impactful online resource to support those whose lives are negatively affected by issues with food and their bodies. And when she isn't working on her mission, she's probably upside down, practicing acro yoga, playing guitar, at comedy improv class, or dancing salsa. Welcome, Samantha. Your hobbies sound terrific.
Thank you so much for having me again. I'm very excited for this conversation.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, you're very involved in getting people healthy. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you got into what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up as a child actress, a stunt double, and a dancer. So I was constantly either on a stage or in front of a camera. And growing up, my body was always looked at under a microscope, if you will. So image was a huge thing with me growing up, being in those industries. So when I was 18 years old, I stopped dancing and I stopped acting. And it was that year when I was 18 that I developed a really unhealthy relationship with food. It was a constant worry. It was a constant struggle. Everything was measured and calculated, and I carried around, a calorie counting app, a food journal, a food scale, and just became ruthlessly obsessed with calories and how much and what I was consuming. It was ridiculous. Everything was accounted for. And so that cycle went on for a while, the cycle of heavy restriction and then overeating on the foods I felt deprived from, and then heavy restriction again, and then overeating again. And, I was on 50 diets in 5 years and multiple times on each of those diets and constantly looking sort of outside of myself for the answer and constantly getting let down. So at the same time I was struggling with this, I had my first company, which was a personal training company. And I just felt completely out of alignment. Here I was on one hand helping people to get healthy, and behind the scenes, I was just in the biggest battle with my body and with food. So there was a lot of disconnect there.
Why do you think that was, Samantha? I mean, I believe me, I understand the training field, and I understand, obsessions with food and so forth and so on. But why do you think that happened? I mean, you were performing and active and on film and on stage, and then all of a sudden, boom, this addiction happened. What do you think triggered it?
I've done a lot of work to get clarity around this, and number one, I lost my significance as a dancer, as an actress, as a stunt double, and I quit everything right away, so I felt an emotional void. And because significance is one of our human needs, I was searching for that. And unfortunately, I was searching for it in the wrong places. I thought, if I'm like super fit and healthy and skinny, then I'll find my significance again. And so there was a little bit of that. And it happened because I always thought the answer to feel loved, to feel accepted, to feel all of these things was outside of myself. So I was on this constant quest of always looking outside of myself for the answers when they were inside me the whole time.
Well, that is true. I mean, everybody has to understand that they have to love and like themselves first before they can love or like anybody else. But there must have been an impetus for you to stop dancing and acting and doing your stunt double work. I mean, that was your choice. So why did you
Mm-hmm.
do that? Why did you do that?
I got to a position where I wanted to pursue business. I wanted to pursue other things. I got burnt out by the industry. I got burnt out by the it's a lot of rejection. It's a very hard job. Being a dancer full time in your 20s and 30s. I mean, I have so much respect for dancers because it is a difficult job. And so I just kind of threw in the towel, and I wanted to do something else. It was such a huge part of my life for so long, and I wanted to pivot and try new things. And in that, I didn't realize the impact of the lack of significance that it would have on me. So it was a interesting ride for sure.
Well, I can truly understand this because number one, I had the top talent agency in Florida for 21 years. We were SAG and AFTRA, and we did all the movies and TV commercials and so forth that came on. And I know what it was to have people go on a cattle call, to have people rejected, and that's one of the things I did in my training programs. I really beat people down and said, look, this is what you're going to face, this is what you're going to, and you need to know what you're getting into. And that
Absolutely.
really helped people because, everybody has these dreams. But I guess, it's almost, Samantha, what you're saying is almost what people go through at a later time in their life when they retire, but they retire without a plan. When you retire and you've had this job, whatever that job is, and you've done it for so long, and that's what you've done. You've gotten up and you've gone and done it and come home, and then you retire and you think, wow, now I can do whatever I want, but you don't have any plans. You'd be surprised if people go through the same thing you're just talking about. So
absolutely.
So tell us about your philosophy on weight loss. I mean, how many women get stuck in that diet binge cycle, and how do they get out of it?
Amazing question. So 91% of women are unhappy with their bodies. That's just a fact. And my philosophy, my modality is we need to start treating internal problems with internal solutions. And here's the problem with the weight loss industry is they are trying to treat an internal problem with an external solution. And that external solution comes in the form of diets and pills and juices and cleanses and all of these things when we're really searching for a feeling. And so we get caught up in jumping from diet to diet to diet, trying to feel that feeling that we're lacking inside, whether that's not feeling loved, not feeling accepted, companionship, loneliness, whatever it is. And then when the diet fails, we go back to square one and we overeat, because binge eating or overeating is simply just a physical reaction to deprivation. When we deprive ourselves and we put emotional restraint on food, we just want it more, right? It's a scarcity mindset of take it away, I just want it more. So we get into this mental battle with ourselves when we decide to not honor our bodies and listen to someone outside of ourselves. My philosophy, my mission, what I'm pushing for to change is to release emotional weight to then release physical weight. So weight loss then becomes a result of what we do and not the focus. And so when we operate in that way and we look at what we're actually hungry for, really restructuring our beliefs and our self-love and our trust, we can then be intuitive, use food for health and hunger, and weight loss then becomes the result. And so that's what Hungry for Happiness is all about. That's what I teach. That's my mission. That's my vision. And it's been incredible, incredible. We're putting Band-Aids on bullet wounds when we're dieting. You know, it's like, oh, okay, well, I feel this way and I'm unhappy with my body, so we're taking action out of fear, not love. And when we do that, it's not sustainable at all. The journey of getting there is, we all know, any woman on a diet is like turns crazy and is not happy.
Well, the thing is that I don't really believe in diets. You know something, Samantha? I believe that there is a way of eating, And of course, even the
Mhm.
people who suggest diets or have plans and so forth, they say, it's okay to have a cheat day, and it's okay to
Mhm.
have, I mean, even and let's just I'm going to use chocolate pudding because I don't like chocolate, so I don't eat chocolate at all. Let's use chocolate pudding. Let's say you're not supposed to have it, but if you have chocolate pudding and you have a teaspoon or two, that
Mhm.
hopefully would satisfy you. And I remember when my daughter was really young, she she would buy. I mean, when I say young, I mean in her late teens, early 20s, and she would get frosting, a jar of frosting, and she would
Oh my
open
goodness.
the frosting and eat a teaspoon, and that
Mhm.
satisfied her. And then she'd close it up again, and she'd be on her health kick. I mean, she'd be eating vegetables and so forth. But once or twice a day, she would have a teaspoon of frosting. And, something that kept her on her path, that was fine with me. So I really
Yeah.
think it's learning a way to eat and learning how to modify,
Mhm.
and so forth.
Learning how to modify. Absolutely,
Exactly.
absolutely. And the thing is most people are run by their minds, right? We don't logic in everything, not just exclusive to dieting and weight loss, but logic is always valued over intuition these days. In business it comes up, right? Let's think about it. Let's analyze. Let's stress ourselves out. Whereas we have within us so much guidance, so much wisdom, so much knowledge to be able to really be if we can really be in tune with that, get into our bodies and feel that out, we don't have to, we know what we want. It's obvious. But when we're so disconnected, head and heart, mind and body, we literally just don't have access to that part of us, which is very sad.
So when you work with people, do you find
Mm-hmm.
you work with women more than men, or is your practice mostly for women? I mean, who comes to you?
It's mostly women. That's our market. Our demographic is women about 35 to 50 is the bulk of who we work with. That being said, I'm very passionate about offering this work to men eventually. There is such a need for it. And within our programs, there's no men, but we have a coaching team that serves men for sure. And I would love to be able to share that and talk about that more. Women, it's easier to talk to your girlfriends about these kind of things. Men, no bueno. The conversation just does not come up with men. And so if I can offer a space for them to heal and to talk about it and to work through it, that truly excites me. Working with men is fantastic. That's the next phase for sure of the company.
Well, it's funny. I think that men don't mind their beer bellies as much as women mind their
Yeah,
hips. I mean, I
yeah,
just think
yeah, yeah.
women are much more self-conscious about their let's say faults, if you want to call them that, than men are. But you also talk about meditation for weight release. I
Mm-hmm,
mean,
mm-hmm.
how does that relate to people losing weight?
Yeah. So when people go to lose weight or to go on a diet, they don't connect with how they want to feel, right? They just hop on a diet, they restrict themselves. All they're thinking about is getting through that day and not overeating. And they have no idea where they're going. When we integrate creation and intention through meditation, and we get people to connect with, okay, how do you want to feel at the end of this? How do you want to look? How do you want your body to look? When you look in the mirror, what conversations do you want to have in your mind? If we can create that feeling in someone before they take the journey, in our subconscious, it's already a done deal. It's like, well, it's inevitable. Of course that's going to happen. But when we start taking forced action without the end in mind, that's when we fail. And so this is one of the biggest things that I drill into my clients when they first start working with me is they need to have an undeniable picture of who they're becoming and how they're feeling before they even start out on that journey. And that is through meditation. Sitting in meditation, focusing on that feeling of lightness,